The Spoken Token is a proud member of the Pod Studio One podcast network. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the big show. I am Larry Neal.
Hey, and I am Alex Wallace.
And we are the Spoken Token podcast. Man, I'm super excited to be back with you, finally recording a show. Things haven't settled down, but at least we're on our way back to what's getting normal for us. So I get to say, like I've been dying to say here for the last couple of weeks, Mr. Alex, sir, how are you doing?
Larry, I'm doing, it's kind of weird because you're a little flat right now. And I mean, you're looking trim and thin, but more flat than normal. So I mean, this is weird for me.
So if I turn sideways, you can't see me?
I wouldn't be able to see you at all. It's kind of like you're Flat Stanley, but your first name's not Stanley, is it?
No.
It is, so actually, Larry and I are in two completely different places. And thus, the 2D version of Larry that I speak of, I am actually looking at Larry on a computer screen.
And we are going to...
I mean, welcome to the 21st century.
I know, right? And we're going to dig into a lot of that later on. I mean, there's been a lot, so we're not going to leave you hanging. we're gonna try to come full circle and talk about a lot of stuff. I know we had the recording missed, and I've said a few things on Instagram, but we're going to cover all of that today. And like I said, get back into this with episode number 107 in the studio with my buddy. And you know what, man, with that.
Again, Larry, you still have to, even though we do have this somewhat of a video requirement, when you do the quote fingers,
it's just for you, man.
But they still can't see you.
That's just for you, man. That is just for you.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for the air quotes. I appreciate that. That was helpful for me.
Yes. What went out audibly was for the audience. What is visual is for you.
So I don't tell them when you're flicking me off. I avoid that, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Positively.
You are not making obscene gestures at me right now.
No, not at all.
You would never do that.
No, I would never do that. That's not what this is for. So let's get on into the show. We got a lot to cover, and let's just go on and get to it.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spoken Token podcast. It is time, episode number 107. Alex and Larry are back, getting into the full swing of things and catching up with each other and the board gaming world in general. They talk about Larry's big move and another even bigger announcement. Alex takes his first look at the Lord of the Rings LCG 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight, plus a whole lot more. So, sit back, relax, put away the packing tape, and turn us up as we join your hosts, Alex Wallace and Larry Neal. All right, and we are back. And hey,
man, I have missed that.
See, you made so much fun, and now you love it.
I'm just saying that for your benefit. I don't really. It's not a big deal to me. I mean.
Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do, I guess, I want to do first off, I know we've got a couple of pretty pressing things, but as getting ready for the show, one of the things that really spoke up for me, or stepped up into the front of the line, I should say, was that maybe the need to kind of sort of reiterate, really bad English there, but reiterate the show's statement moving forward because of some of the changes that we're going to talk about coming up here in just a bit. So I wanted us to both take our time to kind of maybe re-articulate each of us, what we're here for, and I'll start off, of course, by telling you what's in the tagline, which Alex and I really believe in, and we always have. And that is, we like to share life with board games, and we go one box at a time in terms of when we're talking about sharing them with you. Clearly, we always most of the time, we talk about more than one game, but when you're in that game, that's the one you want to share. And we like to share everything about life with board games, from collecting them, from moving them, from designing them, from selling them, from buying them, from trading them, everything that entails. And we don't do numbered reviews. I want to put that piece out there, and that's not going to change. And the reason why we don't, the main reason why is I didn't want to. That's just the truth. The main reason partially why I didn't want to was because there are enough of those out there right now. Plus, I don't personally use those as a serious barometer to buying games. Sure, I read them, I do. I'm not going to say I don't consume them, but I don't use them as a serious barometer to buying games because I need to experience the game. So that's what we do. We like to try to experience the game, and then we share our experiences with you. Do we have opinions on things? Have you heard the show?
Yes.
Have
Larry
you heard,
is
Alex?
a literal walking opinion.
Have you heard, Alex? So surely we have opinions, and we will share those with you. But
I
again,
love how we just threw each other under the bus.
couldn't wait. We were trying to be the first one to do it.
That's true.
But we want to make sure that what we get out there is, hey, listen, guys, this is how we feel about it. And if you want to purchase it or not, or whatever it is about it, make up your mind. We're going to try to give you the facts as we see them, understanding that our view is just that, our view. In terms of editorial content, I don't foresee a change, and that's a really, really big statement based on some things we're going to tell you here a little later on in the show, but I really don't. I've already had conversations with individuals, and there's no expected change to this podcast, and I wouldn't still be doing it with Alex as much as I would truly miss it if it had been put to me, hey, you're going to have to change your show this way, or you're going to have to take that out. But I have been.
You're making it sound like we had like federal agents burst through our door and say, "You need to stop now."
We might have. They don't know. We ain't told them yet.
This is a really somber thing for what's actually a really exciting. So
it is exciting, but I needed it somber because seriously, this is going to trust me. I don't think you have a full appreciation for where we're going moving forward based on this. And there's some things.
Okay, folks, I am. I'm in just as much.
You are
anticipation as you are.
Yeah, there are some things that haven't been discussed, and so between you and I, like I said, for instance, what I just told you, that talk. I
feel like we're having like couples counseling on air. Well, hey, look, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
That's just you, man. That's just you. But no, I just kind of want to level set. We've had a little bit of a break. We didn't expect it. But we kind of ended up having a break, so it's kind of been a reset. So I just kind of
not a breakup, folks, not a breakup, just a break.
Yeah, just want to kind of
and not in like not a Ross and Rachel break either. It was a break.
I don't even know what that means. So
some of my middle-aged friends out there will absolutely get that. Friends.
You ain't middle-aged yet. You still a baby.
Oh,
what you talking about?
No, I'm hoping to die early, so I'm shooting for middle age. So,
if that's the case, you might be a little late. You in the late stages of life if you was trying to go early, Chief. But like Alex said, I mean, I did want it to be. I wanted you guys to pay attention to it. It's not necessarily. It isn't a somber moment. I wanted them serious. I wanted them to stand out so that people would understand. Listen, we aren't really trying to change anything, but these are some of the things that we stand for. The ways that we present things, we're not trying to look to change those things. We're not big on name dropping and calling out. We don't like bullying, so we're not going to try to kowtow to that or be a part of that or a party to that. We're just going to try to keep doing the show with the challenges that we have, some of which we're going to get into today, and some of which we're going to explore together over these next several episodes. So I'm glad you're all here. Alex, what do you have to add to the show statement, sir?
Oh, the statement of the show,
yes,
statement.
Sir. Yes, sir.
The statement show, the show,
yes,
the
sir.
statement. No, honestly, Larry and I, again, so what he's sort of alluding to, and I'll give him some space to speak through, is we have had a geographical change. So Larry and I are now separated by almost a 2-hour drive, which is basically the first time this has happened in the show's history, in the last 6.5 years. And so that's one of the reasons we had a little lapse in content over the last month. And so, which has pushed us to move to a new kind of just new technology. And so we're, this first episode is we're recording over a stream site online. And so that's completely new to us. But even though that's new, already it's showing benefits of like, hey, we could actually push this into different areas. I mean, the software that we're using now allows us video. So we're going to look at moving to YouTube, and actually looking at our mug while we speak, which I'm sorry for all of you that if that's your preferred mode, because that means you'd actually have to look at me while I speak. And so that's one of those things. The other, just we're always trying to stay true to ourselves, and part of that is that we just want to be two guys who talk about what two people would talk about in a board game store. I mean, that's how we started, and that's what we're always going to be.
Well said.
We want to be friendly in our conversation. We want to be informative. We're both teachers at heart, and that's when you're here, that's what you're going to get. And so, for those of you who've only been with us for a short amount of time, if you haven't already noticed that, I mean, that's who we are. That's what we're going to do. So we may not always talk about the new hotness. I mean, we tried to kind of inform you of what's come out. But we also just want to help you enjoy this hobby that we love so much even more. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, it's always good for everyone, even in your own personal journey and or as an organization, just to kind of, put your flag back in the sand and say, this is who we are and this is what we stand for. So that way, as you move forward, you're always just, there's a plumb line there. And so this is
Well
turned
said.
I have my moments.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, but
well said.
no. So all right. Well, so now that we've gotten all of that, it took a heavy turn there, and not just because I gained weight over Christmas, but
it needed to. I feel like it needed to.
Okay,
to be honest with you, yeah.
Okay.
So, but no, the beautiful thing about that is I think what we can do now is leave that period there, and that's a great spot to stop. We'll drop this segment and hop right into the rest of the show. So we'll be right back after this short break.
And we are back. You know what's cool about this new video setup is I can now actually add facial expressions to the end. Now we're back, which
You could have
kind
always
of
done that.
Yeah, I know, but now I can see myself, and so the narcissistic side of me is like, oh, okay, I'm more into this now.
So I was right to not give you a mirror before. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's why I was always so intent on my computer, because I had the video on already, and I was just watching myself. It's like, oh, you really killed that one. Look at that eyebrow. Look at that eyebrow.
That explains a lot, sir. So what we want to do this one, it's funny, man. We're going to do the elephant in the room next, and you know what's funny? There are so many elephants in this room. We probably need to turn this one into the human in the room.
Oh man,
This room is full of elephants that need to be talked about.
Yeah, it's like a pachyderm party in here.
Yes. I
Oh,
totally
man.
agree. So we'll get started. We've already alluded to one of them, and one of them is no surprise, like Alex said, and like we've said before, and I've talked about on social media. I physically moved. Like he said, I'm almost, it's probably about 2 hours, depending on traffic, away from each other. So that won't preclude us, fortunately, from getting together from time to time when we can, and I'm looking forward now really to those moments, particularly getting back in the studio. That'll be great. That's something worth driving for. But, the way the housing market is, and I had practiced this whole tantrum I was going to get off on, and I'm not going to right now. I'll probably say something about it at some point in the show, but I want it to be short, so I'm not going to get into it now. But that's one of them. And like Alex said, we are physically in different places and different spaces now. So we want it to be as transparent moving forward as possible. Don't want to talk about it, not going to bring it up, don't want to, I just, if you're here now, you're understanding we're in different places. If you listen to us 3, 4, 5 episodes down the road, hopefully you'll still be with us, and hopefully there'll be no change is the point behind that. So I'm looking forward to that and working that out. We may have some bumps along the way as we get to that point, but that's my desire. This is not a running gag. This is not something I want to point out. I just want this to work. I want it to be the best quality it can be for you guys, so Alex and I can keep doing what we do. Those of you who've stuck with us and come with us all this time, we appreciate you first and foremost, but you're here for certain things, and so we want to make sure we deliver that. So that's one elephant in the room. That was a big one because we ended up missing an episode, and my collection and moving and all of that stuff. I'm going to do a little update later on that, I guess, about me moving, because it was, moving with a board game collection.
It's worse than moving with kids. I mean,
I don't know.
Nah, because you actually take more care of your board games than you do your kids.
No, man, no.
Trust me.
No,
Trust me.
man,
I've moved with kids, and I watched how you pack those board games. And I'm like, man, I wouldn't even have strapped my kid in like that. So,
well, kids bounce, man. Board games don't. They break.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. You take more. Yeah. So.
No, it was a thing, guys. It was a thing. I will say this part about the moving now part now about the table. Today I was super excited. Just yesterday, My friends, Devin. Yep, I'm gonna call her out because I love her dearly. They're such a good friends from Cat House Gaming. She's in Nashville. She's in town helping another friend. And she called me up and said, "Hey, we'll come by and see the house." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You're in Washington State. I'll send you a video." I think I did a video walkthrough for them already. She said, "No, I'm in Nashville." And I said, "Oh, cool." She said, "We'll come by and help you with the games." And so immediately I walked in here in the den, and I still had 14 of my tins unpacked, and the shelves behind me looked largely like they do now. And my table was completely covered. Like, completely covered. And I was like, yeah, I could use that help. So she came in. She came in yesterday. Another good friend of ours, Mary, they came by, and man, they're superstars. I sent you the pictures last night. That's the first time this room has looked like that. But one of the things that, not to belabor that point too much, when I got this table, I was extremely excited about it. For those of you who don't know, it's a 6 foot by 4 foot custom gaming table. And it was tucked away in all of the dining room in my little apartment. Alex remembers.
Yeah.
And I was excited about my table. I've loved the table from the jump, but I knew I didn't buy it for that space. And I was just waiting to get it to a space where I can use it. The room that it's in now.
Oh, it's, fantastic.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I
All
bet
of my game shelves are in here.
You opened up the game top, and then like this light that you did, actually a little light fixture you didn't know you had, just immediately started working right then. And then there's like, which was actually your air conditioner going out. But it was a heavenly moment right there.
Oh my goodness, man. I'm so excited now to see it sitting in this room. There's so much space in this room. There's probably more echo in this room right now because it's basically still empty with most of my collection and the table. And it's still, there's space for a couch in here and maybe a little side table and some more shelves along the walls to get more of the collection in this room. I'm thrilled about that. Thrilled. And this is just on the way. I haven't arrived. I don't feel like I've arrived anywhere. I'm still just on the way. But I am very, very, very grateful for that. Alex and I will maybe get some recordings done from out here, hopefully at some point in time in the future as well. That was elephant number 1. I forgot. I can't even remember what elephant number 2 is.
Don't roll your eyes like that. Listen, you are literally riding that elephant, coming in like a caravan. All right, so give them the news because I think we. I don't
know what you're talking about.
Oh, but they can't see the video yet.
It's not for them. I did that for you. How many times I have to tell you? Video is for you.
So, all right.
It's not like I did that.
I'm gonna yes, this is exactly what you did. All right, so then do I need to tell them your news?
No, I won't tell them. This is just a little bit of poking at you. So, in the midst of moving, while we were getting ready to close, actually I was closing, I was contacted by our good friends at VanRyder Games and was offered and able to accept a position working full-time for VanRyder Games. So I now am back working for a board game publisher again. I did it once before. This one is different, though, because this one is a keeping the lights on, full-time job. The other one was very much an expectation situation where that I'm 100% grateful for with Lost Battalion. In fact, without that job, this one most likely may not have materialized the way that it did because of all that I learned there. But I am now a full-time employee of VanRyder Games. And so it's still sinking in. I've had 2 weeks
absolutely
on the job, and I'm still just, I'm smiling. And work now is what you and I are doing right now, which is board games. I mean, that's for real work. And there is a lot of work to it. Yeah. There is a lot of work to it. No, we do not go to the office and play board games every day. We absolutely, positively do not. These are things that I knew from before, but like I said, I wasn't in an office setting before. But it's refreshing my memory, and so I do want to say this, and I'm going to put this out there. This is Spoken Token editorializing. This is Larry and Spoken Token. I'll even be more specific than that. When you think as a consumer of board games that the publisher of the board game and or the designer that they didn't do something very fundamental. When you want to say, well, they should have play tested this more, or oh my God, why don't they have any quality control? I'm going to make one caveat. Unless it is we didn't play test this at all line of board games. I'm not even going to put it on there because they didn't do it either. I just want to assure you that I honestly, being in the industry, I don't believe it. First of all, mainly because it's not That's not the way you get things done. That's not how you sell products. Now, I'm not saying that what has been done everyone should accept. Clearly you shouldn't. Not everybody's going to like everything. But I can only assure you that in the process of the publishers whose games are on my shelf and probably on Alex's shelf and most of you are listening to our shelves, so much work is done. Do things get missed? Absolutely. Are bad decisions made? Well, of course, because we're all humans. But I think it would be nice for everybody to remember that. I'm not saying don't be upset. I'm not saying don't let the companies know you're upset. In fact, we need to know that so that we can know where we need to make changes. Just what I'm really saying, just be more respectful.
Yeah.
And understand that this is people's work, and we're working just like you work. You wouldn't want anybody coming over your shoulder and saying, whatever it is that you do, and it's like, oh, nobody's in the company doing this, and it's like, that's your job. That's not true. I messed up, or I made a mistake, or whatever. So that's all I'm saying. Just remember that.
And that brings up an interesting point as you said that. When I think about play testing, and when you are a board game company and you are play testing, you are trying to manufacture a ridiculous number of scenarios in which to test your game, but you're a handful of people or playtesting groups. Mm-hmm. So and it becomes a small sample size, opposed to when you hit mass market, this game is now being played exponentially more, and therefore more scenarios arise. Mm-hmm. At which point, like there are bound to be places where the math falls apart, or the wheels come off.
Right. Let me help you this too. The point of playtesting is to make the game that you're trying to make as an entity, to be the best that it can be. You're not trying to make the game to the exclusion of everything. Just we want to get it out the door. No, you want to make the game that you're trying to make work the way that it needs to work. Right. And that's that. And you have to do that because like you just said, you're not able to sit there and say, hey, let's find every flaw that everybody in the world who plays our game. You can't do it that way.
So
you never get anything done.
I'm going to interject a question here then. Mm-hmm. All right, and this is just maybe devil's advocate, maybe not. So from a designer standpoint, you're going to make the game you want to make and make it work within the confines that you want it to work in. So what about the player who doesn't come into a game thinking like you do? Because there are. I think I go back to Deep Space D6 with you. And you played it a certain way, and it sort of fell apart. But then when you kind of went through and and then you understood what the designer wanted you to do, then it made sense.
Well, in the original one, there were two reasons why that was. The first one was the rule book was bad, which is a whole nother discussion. Because he left, there was something that was paramount to playing that game, the original copy, my copy I just pointed to on my shelf, that's printed on the inside lid of the box instead of being in the rule book. And it's like paramount to the gameplay. So once I found that out, but to your point, I want to adjust a little bit what you said, your statement in terms of when you're trying to make the game work within the confines that you want it to work in. That's a little too narrow. It's not necessarily that like I said, because we're not sitting back rubbing our hands in this game is going to be just like this. That's one of the reasons why we play test, because you have the idea, and then as you're working on it, as it's going through development, the developer is the first person or a co-developer who's going to get their hands on it and be like, well, this doesn't work. Or, hey, why did you do this that way? Let's do it that way. So you've already begun to see, oh yeah, let's change. And you anticipate that from playtesting. You do. And again, it's not necessarily that they're looking for breaks just only. They are looking for things that are broken, but they are looking for new ways to implement the ideas, because that's part of what playtesting is, right? That's like you said, that's one of the first things that people will say. Playtesters is like, well, I understand this rule, why you did this, why you score the points the way that you do, but it's kind of laborious. Why not do it this way? That's one of the things we get back, and it's like, oh yeah, that's good. Let's change it to that way. So that's what it's about. You're trying to make that product be the best product that it can be, I guess maybe is a way that I need to say it. And instead of, the original designer or the developer or the publisher saying, we're going to make this game. It's not so much that. We want to make the product that's here. We want to make this the best product that it can be, right? And of course, everybody's shelves are full of games that are hits and misses for each and every other individuals. You don't care too much for Aeon's End. I love it. I don't like word games. I can't stand puzzle games. They have a huge audience though, and there are people out there that love them. So, but again, the playtesting process is looking for making this product the best product that it can be, like you said, based on the group. Sure, a wider sample group a larger playtest group, or a longer period of playtest, sure, those will show themselves. Yep, you're going to get different results. You're going to get probably better results. Not everybody can afford to do that because you got to keep the lights on. You know, you got to get the game out. So that doesn't mean you rush it out, obviously. You don't send it out thinking, well, kind of needs another, 4 weeks, but let's go on and ship it now. No, you don't do that. You get it to a place where you're like, this is the product. This is the product. As a publisher, you're like, this is the one we want to publish. This is the version of this game that we want to publish. This now we're proud to put our names on this.
Yeah. All right. So to swing back around, you are you want to reiterate to people what about
there's no willful negligence for the most part. The overwhelming majority, there's no willful negligence on the part of publishers. Okay, it isn't. Mistakes happen. Some people may have different skill levels, so some people may not be as good, as other folks are doing things. But there's no willful negligence. Nobody's trying to sell you a $70 game, that has a 60-page rule book and they play tested it once or twice. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah, and that's really important to say too, especially for all of these younger board game companies that are dropping these massive Kickstarters with a bunch of minis. And and that where the gameplay is kind of lacking, they're
totally different discussion.
No, well, not necessarily. I think it has merit within this discussion, and so ultimately, what you're learning is that somebody had a really cool idea, and they thought, hey, this would make a great game, and to the best of their ability, they play tested it to make it workable, manageable, and maybe they made they had some holes, or even didn't know to even check for things that a wizened and or established board game company might actually have done. And so I think what we're saying here is have a little grace, and just be it's kind of becoming our secondary slogan. Just be a kind human. I mean,
for sure.
Because you have to realize these aren't faceless companies. These are most board gaming companies are like with you and VanRyder are just a small group of people.
Yeah, it's people.
Doing what they can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So. Absolutely. Very well said, sir. So that
all right. Well, I guess I will talk about my little elephant in the room. The thing that. Yeah, there's a third one. But this is like a baby elephant compared to all of your elephants. I needlessly found a copy of Batman Gotham City Chronicles, and needlessly, I could look and go, I don't need this, but I still bought it.
And that's an elephant?
It's an elephant. It's an elephant for me because, well, you know me. I get really, really excited about something. I find it, I play it, and then it goes away. And so, I mean, listen, folks. I can call it as I see it. I'm not unaware of my own issues, but I'm super excited. And the person I got it from, it was completely unpunched. I got oh man. There's so much plastic, and it's so cool. Oh, I've been looking at reviews and stuff, and everyone's kind of like, it's okay.
Is it already gone? Have you
No.
Okay.
It's gonna be one of the, I think I might actually put it on a shelf
because my top shelf is full, so I don't have room for it, man.
Yeah. Well, I don't actually think you can play it solo. It has to be 2-player at least.
You can't play either one of those solo either.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to play StarCraft.
Oh
that's
my
what
God!
That's what he's pointing to. So
on this table, and people are okay.
Oh man, yeah, and they're walking around. It's gonna be good stuff. We better move on. Larry is sweating, and I can see it.
1080p.
That's right. All right, here we go. Moving on to our next segment after the break.
And we are back. So let's get into some game talk. So much business that we were talking about. Let's get into some game talk. And Alex has got a huge first impression for us. You like how I built that up?
Actually, it's not.
You
a
like
first
how I built
impression.
that up?
Oh yeah, I do. It's more of a second impression.
Well, it's all bundled together.
It is all bundled.
You like the hand movements?
Yeah, beautiful. I mean,
bundled
wow.
Together.
How did you that? I mean, that's like some ballerina stuff right there with
Bundled
your
together.
fingers.
So you're going to talk to us about the Lord of the Rings LCG Revised Core set.
I am.
And also, too, oh, no, yeah, we split that next piece out into a different segment. Yes. Go.
Well, the funny thing is I have no idea what the second part of that is. So I'll be just as surprised as our audience.
Somebody didn't read the notes. It is the normal show. It is the normal show.
Oh, yeah, now I remember. I got you. Okay. I do remember that now. I just last week picked up the Lord of the Rings LCG revised core set basically is what it is. So Lord of the Rings LCG is effectively, I can't remember which came out first, this or Arkham Horror. I want to say Lord of the Rings came out first, and then Arkham Horror shortly after. But these are published by Fantasy Flight.
Yes.
And Lord of the Rings has 10 years worth of content. They only stopped publishing content about a year ago, I think. And they tried to make a move into the digital sphere to not much acclaim. I'll just say that.
No.
But ultimately, what they attempted to do is come back around, and as of 10 years worth of content, you're going to make some meaningful changes. And with this revised core set, they have implemented a peppering, if you will, of meaningful changes, a few card rebalancings, and some additions for campaign play. But with the idea that because there is so much content out there, they are going to start re-releasing cycles in a much more manageable way for people who want to get back into or start the LCG instead of dropping $400, $500 on a collection, to become relevant again. And so the reason I call this a second impression is because as many a times, and I can think of as early as Great Western Trail, in my sort of board gaming infancy, I was just buying everything, and if it didn't click with me immediately, it was out. It was gone. It was and this was back in the days when I was unhealthily attached to Magic, and so anything with a deck building aspect was primo on my list. And then you add. Yeah, and then you add the fact that there was a level of campaign structure, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my perfect game. I played 2 games. It was incredibly tough, and I'm like, and I'm done. I didn't even give it a second. I mean, after that second game, I can remember because this was from Dave, and I was just like, yeah, and I didn't buy any extra, and I got rid of it pretty quickly. But I hadn't learned the ability that it's okay for games to be difficult, and sometimes some games you just have to. It's a relationship. You've got to grow to understand, kind of going back to our previous conversation, like what the game is attempting to do.
Yeah.
And then once you fully understand that, then you can then you judge the game on those merits, not the merits of your first playthrough. Okay. And that's guys, that has taken me a really long time to understand.
That's okay, brother. You made it.
Yes, I did, because I used to just make my snap decision. Oh, this is the best game ever. First game. Second game. Oh, it was just okay.
Oh, I hate it. It's gone.
Yeah, exactly. After the second game or the first game. Oh, yeah, whatever. It's out.
Oh,
but now I'm allowing myself the opportunity to explore, and I think having a smaller collection is afforded me the opportunity to do that. Regardless, so I have spent the last week thinking about, reading about, playing through this, and I have to say, it is like it's gonna stay. Now, and this we'll go. You ask, oh, but Alex, don't you have everything in Marvel Champions?
No.
Oh, Alex, don't you love Arkham Horror? And
No.
And so big surprise, I do not. I moved away from Marvel Champions as much as I enjoyed it. But I'll walk you through the process of that later.
Next segment.
Yes, that is the next segment that Larry alluded to. But for me, Lord of the Rings, so what I really enjoyed about it is that it takes the campaign story structure that is what Arkham Horror is about. And I think if I were to look at all three of the Fantasy Flight LCGs, the current LCGs, I'm not talking Netrunner, or I guess they do technically have Game of Thrones is still one of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And then Star Wars is defunct now. So they're three current, which is Arkham Horror, Marvel Champions, and now Lord of the Rings. So ultimately, Arkham Horror is very much story focused. Marvel Champions is very much fighting focused. I think Lord of the Rings is that in that middle, of story versus and fighting. Yes. So combat is not necessarily the primary focus. And you could make the argument that it's just doing what Marvel Champions is just a reskin of Lord of the Rings, and it is, but I would say it isn't. So, but for me, I really enjoyed my time with the core set. There's enough in that box to keep you coming back for more. It's tough. It's tough. I lost my first couple of hands on the first turn.
Not surprised.
In my first couple of games, but granted, I was playing with like expert mode shuffled in, and some other crazy things that shouldn't have been there. Yeah. And then that point, I was like, oh wait, but I went back. But each time, it kind of the strategy, which is not it's not spelled out for you, but you start to learn those nuances. So what happens is in the course, in the basic of Lord of the Rings LCG is you have three heroes, and it does something that I think is unique and brilliant. Each of your three heroes has one of four types. So for instance, there's leadership, tactics, lore, and I can't remember what the other one was. So yeah, there's a fourth one, but each of those heroes is assigned a particular, like in Marvel Champions, aspect. Whereas the aspects were agnostic to the heroes in Marvel Champions. Here, each hero has a particular type that they're connected to, and then you choose three. So you could effectively have three of the four aspects in one deck. The issue becomes for every aspect of the hero that you add, and you add those cards to your deck, you may only use resources from a hero that has that aspect to play a card from that aspect. So, For instance, if you have a leadership card, you may only use resources from a leadership character to pay for that, which makes deck building really, really interesting. Because you're like, I want to make the best deck with three different aspects, but then at that point, it's going to take you a longer time to build up enough resources to pay for something, because each hero only gets one resource per round. And so I think that aspect of it is just really unique and interesting.
Yeah, that's from the original. It was like that before.
Well, they're right. I mean, so that like I said, the core mechanics of the game have not changed.
Yeah.
And so... I think it's just there's a lot of flexibility there. The core set, it has like 2 or 3 avenues that you can build around. So like dwarves and Gondorians, or what is it's not Gondorians. What is the Gondorians? Yeah, that's it. There's some thematic stuff that you can build towards. And so that that's where like part of me goes, oh man, I wish there was more of that. But in a core set, I still feel like there's quite a bit here to explore.
Oh yeah.
It's really fascinating. It's always exciting because every turn you're flipping over cards from the top of the deck, and so nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Nothing is guaranteed, and that's where the difficulty sort of jumps in for this game. And I would say if you're someone who has to win all the time, this is not going to be something for you to get into.
Nope.
Because as I've been looking in forums and different things, the average win rate is something like 52 to 58%, maybe a little bit more than that. Especially if you kind of net deck and you find some really efficient decks. But
that's
right,
not fun.
But I think this one lends itself to like, oh, I really like what this card does, or I noticed that I'm not getting this one out because I'm always wanting to do something else. So the deck building, there's quite a bit of choices, and there's a lot of things that are normally a restriction in other games that this game just doesn't put in. Like there's no hand limit. There's no, all of these things, and it just kind of says, it just sort of lets you do what you can do. And so every game is exciting. It's thrilling. But yeah, I'm going to tell you, this is, I am so glad to, just like with, somebody's laundry is done.
That's my dishwasher, actually.
Oh, your dishwasher. Oh, so your dishes are done. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, so, as
I'm still learning stuff. It's new.
As the dishwasher, sort of foretells my thoughts, I'm really glad to get back into this. I really enjoy it. I think this is something, and I only played it solo.
What?
I know, and so I'm interested.
I thought it was brilliant solo. I love the original.
I'm interested to see how this. There's a lot out there, even just in the core set, where I'm like, oh, this is not a good card solo, but in a 2-player game,
yeah,
this is a definite include. And I'm excited. Cynthia's already looking like, oh, I can get behind Lord of the Rings. And so I think it's one that cool. we can work together in. Jackson's just now reading the books in English class, so so I think this is a perfect time for this to make it into my collection, and I'm really glad I have it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, super duper cool, man. It's part of a trend that I think, from a product standpoint, I think it's smart. Like you said, they have so much content.
Yeah.
So
I think
it and freshening it up is just brilliant.
This is not, and honestly, they're doing it right. The box is bigger, so it actually comes with built-in storage now instead of one of those just smaller boxes that they did the original core set
with the channel down the middle.
Yeah. The original now that with the revised, instead of having to buy 2 core sets to get a full playset of everything, they have a full playset of every card ready to go. Yeah. I really feel like, this is going to be a money grab, but I'm not mad at them the way that they're doing this because I don't think so. Because it seems like they're taking a player first approach, they're wanting people to appreciate what they have, and Absolutely. So I'm really pumped about this moving forward.
And it behooves them, like you said it yourself a minute ago, in terms of how they've pruned the lines of LCGs. It just behooves them as a company to have active, vibrant lines going. Yeah. Producing all those cards and shipping all those cards and then keeping the rules and the manpower hours and then the actual ship. That stuff's not cheap. So if you're going to be doing it, then you want to be doing it with a community that's vibrant, as solid as the original game was, and as solid, obviously, as the license is. Yeah. You want to make that the best product possible. So, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think it's probably a really good time for them to do that. As well. And I'm excited that you have it. My copy, as I was laughing because I was looking at my copy, it's moved up from where it was in the apartment. I'm positive it was down on the floor, but now it's up higher in the cubes. It may end up moving again, but that's something I would love to get back into. So
yeah, the adventures
about
which
because I
now
remember
that
just being overwhelmingly excited about that one.
Yeah, and honestly, it brings back hope that they're going to come back to Netrunner. Because that's a totally different animal because it's built to be played competitively. Yeah. And so, but I love Netrunner. I think Netrunner, the ace. There's nothing else out there like Netrunner, and so
I don't know who owns the license for that one. That could be part of it as well. But you're right.
I think that they still retain
maintaining
license.
A competitive environment currently now in this post-COVID world.
Yeah, and I think that's where Netrunner falls apart. And so and so I don't think that they will, but I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. Well, very, very cool. Well, cool. That's it. I didn't have a first impression because clearly I've been moving. I've just now gotten my collection out. And yes, before anyone asks, I did hug it. I did. I did. And I do walk in this room and I look at the games and I. So yes, I'm glad they're back. But let us close out this segment and we're going to move on. We got one more segment. Let's hop right to it right after this.
And we're back.
Sweet.
Woo-wee. All right. Well, I alluded to some of this earlier, but I think I just kind of want to take a moment to talk through my journey, because some of you may just sit back and go, well, but you said all this about Marvel Champions, or you said all of this about Arkham Horror. And
it's a very interesting read.
Yeah. And so, first of all, if you haven't learned anything about me, I'm pretty impetuous. And even earlier when I said, like, my old habits used to be I would play something and then I would make a decision on it, like right then and there, of whether I loved it, hated it, or whatnot. And so that's ultimately what has happened with. So I want to just talk about the three kind of mainline Fantasy Flight LCGs and where I am with each of the three. So the first one I ever experienced was Lord of the Rings. But of course, you heard my story earlier. 2 games in, it was too hard. I didn't know what I was doing, and so I got rid of it. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, I got into Arkham Horror. I really, really enjoyed Arkham Horror. And I enjoyed the narrative version of it. I enjoyed thematic deck building and all of those things. But the issue became that of theme. And I just couldn't. I had to hide boxes because it would scare my kids and all of that. And, that just became basically a no-go for me. So I actually had to move on from Arkham Horror. And then the more I thought about it, just the actual things that it did in its storytelling, because it was so narrative driven, were a little bit darker than I really wanted to get into. Well, then that's when I got super excited about Marvel Champions. And I got into Marvel Champions and I was instantly smitten with it. And I have a bit of an obsessive personality. And one of the things, and they started dropping content just left and right. And I was like, oh, I love this. I need everything. Well, what I ended up finding out was 2 years in, I had everything that had come out, and I had only played 40% of it. And in that 2 years, I had come to understand this game is attempting to just be a brawler, which I think is really appropriate for the material, but it wasn't what I really wanted. And so just this last Christmas, I actually moved on from it, which was a hard decision, but I'm hopeful that the person that got it is, will enjoy it, because I think it's it's the same.
Because it's pretty much all of it.
Yeah, and so, but for me, I think what I've learned is, and again, now I'm gonna preface this statement with, it's been a week, okay. So this. Yeah, so we're gonna. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna make an exclusive statement here, but I believe that Lord of the Rings is what I want all these LCGs to be. It's campaign driven in a world that I'm not afraid to share with my children, that I actually want to encourage with my children.
Yeah.
But it's not strictly combat focused, which Marvel Champions, as much as the threat was always secondary. You were always just fighting, and Lord of the Rings, again, fighting is a big portion of it, but it is not its main focus. And so I think for me, Lord of the Rings kind of hits that sweet spot in the middle of Marvel Champions and of Arkham Horror, with a theme that I think is very palpable to my family. So for all of you out there, like, now is the perfect time to get into a Fantasy Flight LCG. Arkham Horror has did the revised core set just last November. Lord of the Rings just came out again, and they're re-releasing their cycles in a much more efficient and actually affordable way. Marvel
and,
Champions.
And don't forget this piece. I mean, depending on how you're looking to get into it, you may be able to pick up one of those older sets now that somebody's already put together for you.
It's true. And I will say the older sets are still compatible. So that it's not a second edition.
That's why.
They're still compatible. There are some minor changes that they have made, but a lot of it's just quality of life issues. The other great thing about
sleeves.
Yeah, now I will say, Larry, I went ahead and sleeved it. I went ahead.
You're going to have to sleeve it. Yeah, you're going to have to put a sleeve on it.
Yeah. So, and that is something to think through. And I didn't do penny sleeves. I went Dragon Shields. And so, because of penny sleeves, what are you woosawing about over there?
He done said it again. Oh my goodness. Whew. Yeah, it's one that's going to go on the list of words we don't say on this show.
What, penny sleeves?
Oh.
Why? Listen.
Ooh, catching my breath.
Fair enough. But for some people, that's the only option. Now, regardless, but Marvel Champions. What's great about Marvel Champions is
friends don't let friends use penny sleeves, man. That's not how that works.
Marvel Champions is great because if you can break free from this notion that you need everything. Marvel Champions is really good. I like this person and I like this person. You're gonna get quite a bit of value, and just from picking different things, opposed to where I feel like Lord of the Rings and I feel like Arkham Horror, narratively, you need to buy each little set.
It depends. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, and if you're playing with other people or if you're solo all the time. Clearly, if you're solo, you're going to be wanting greener pastures, so you're going to want to keep moving through. And this goes back to what we were talking about from a product standpoint. Companies got to make money. So, they're going to put them out so that they can keep the revenue coming in. So that's still going to happen. You're right. That maybe makes a little bit more sense. Not having about 2 core sets in the new Lord of the Rings is huge, but they still have to put the sets out. Because, again, these aren't video games. You're not paying every time you open the box.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So we do a little bit of level setting and people understand what you're getting into. What you're going to get in return is tremendously worth it, I think. So buy your core set with the understanding of, hey, if you like the game, if you like the mechanics, guess what? I'm going to buy, some of the subsequent sets coming out that have more content. Every time I open the box, board games are looking at it this way. Every time you open their box, you're not paying them right then and there for the privilege of doing that. But if you're opening their boxes that frequently, then they are going to get paid in a sense because you're going to come back and buy another product from them. So that's why they're putting their best foot forward so that you will keep coming back. Because like you said, if you don't like it, or if it doesn't hold you, or if it's putting out stuff too frequently, or if the price is wrong, you're out. And it's sitting on a shelf or somebody's trying to trade it. And that doesn't help anybody. So no, I get it. Your journey with the LCGs from Fantasy Flight has been amusing to watch from this side. You said getting over the whole I got to buy it all thing. That's why I was like, well, some of us never had that. That's why I own a little bit of Lord of the Rings. I own a little bit more Marvel Champions. I think that one has more teeth for me. And then I only own a little bit of the Arkham Horror. Some of the stuff on that one does get a little dark, and I was thinking about that one too. I may end up dropping that one too. I'm not sure yet. But I really enjoy the system and the way that it plays. But I've never been with those. I do have games that I'm like that about, but not typically with these particular traditional LCGs. I've been fortunate enough to dodge that bullet. We'll see about G.I. Joe and Transformers. That's yet to be seen. Those might get me. We'll see though. But hey, man, I think we're to the wow.
Wow.
Our first distance wow, because we've come to the end of the show. Again, we want to thank everybody for hanging in there with us through the missed episode, and we're looking to get back on track. Don't forget to reach out to us through social media, some things that you may want to see us talk about in the future, some things you may want to see us cover in the future, and who knows, maybe Alex will get us working on video. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, listen.
No one knows yet if he's
this just makes it like this new platform. It's going to be super easy.
He says that.
I say that.
Yeah, he says that, but we'll all see together, folks.
That's true.
But for the spoken token, this is Larry Neal saying, keep communicating.
And this is Alex Wallace saying, keep playing.
This has been the Spoken Token Podcast. If you would like to interact with us, please find us at Facebook at The Spoken Token, on Instagram at The Spoken Token Podcast. Our Twitter account is at The Spoken Token. Email is thespokentokenpodcast@gmail.com. And our BGG guild number is 2656.
You are listening to a Pod Studio One Podcast Network podcast. Find more great podcasts at www.podstudio1.com.